Hello, my name is Carmen Woodhope. I've been a primary school teacher for over 30 years. Today, I'd like to read and explore with you a really famous children's book, Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. There are so many things that you can do with your children on very many different levels to do with the curriculum, just by reading and exploring this book. So I'd like to start by reading the book with you. If you have a copy of this book, now would be the time to pause the video and to go and get it. Are we sitting comfortably? Let's begin. Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. The night Max wore his wolf suit and made mischief of one kind and another. Max is chasing the dog down the stairs. What's he got in his hand? What do you think Max is going to do? His mother called him Wild Thing, and Max said, "I'll eat you up." So he was sent to bed without eating anything. Look carefully at Max's face. What do you think he's feeling? What time of day is it? How can you tell? There's a clue. That very night in Max's room, a forest grew. Look carefully at the bed. What's happened? What does the bed look like? And it grew. What's disappeared? What's replaced it? And it grew until his ceiling hung with vines, and the walls became the world all around. Is there anything left of Max's room? Where do you think Max is now? What can you see in the sky? And an ocean tumbled by with a private boat for Max, and he sailed off through the night and the day. How can you tell that it's Max's private boat? What's strange about this picture? Would you normally see a tree growing in the middle of the ocean? And in and out of weeks and almost over a year to where the wild things are. This is Max's first encounter with a wild thing. And when he came to the place where the wild things are, they roared their terrible roars, and they gnashed their terrible teeth, and they rolled their terrible eyes, and they showed their terrible claws. They look very wild. Look at Max's face. What do you think Max is feeling? Does he look scared? Till Max said, "Be still." And he tamed them with a magic trick of staring into their yellow eyes without blinking once. And they were frightened, and they called him the most wild thing of all. Max is staring into their yellow eyes. What's in the sky? What time of day is it still? And made him king of all the wild things. And now, cried Max, let the wild rumpus start. How do you know they made him king? What things has he got that kings and queens would have? Is it still night? Why is the wild thing bowing to Max? They're all dancing and singing. The moon. What kind of a moon is it? What kind of a suit is Max wearing? Is there a connection between the suit and the moon? They swang through the trees as part of the wild rumpus. And Max rode on the wild thing, the wildest looking one of all. Does Max look scared? Why do you think he's not scared? Why do you think they're all doing what Max tells them to do? Now stop, Max said. And he sent the wild things off to bed without their supper. Has somebody been sent to bed without their supper earlier in the book? And Max, the king of all wild things, was lonely, and he wanted to be where somebody loved him best of all. Where do you think Max is loved best of all? And who do you think loves Max best of all? Then all around, from far away, across the world, he smelled good things to eat. So he gave up being king of where the wild things are. What do you think Max might be smelling from far away across the world? But the wild things cried, "Oh, please don't go. We'll eat you up. We love you so." And Max said, "No." The wild things roared their terrible roar and gnashed their terrible teeth and rolled their terrible eyes and showed their terrible claws. But Max stepped into his private boat and waved, "Bye-bye." And off he went. And he sailed back over a year and in and out of weeks and through a day. What do you think Max is feeling? What's in the sky? And into the night of his very own room, where he found his supper waiting for him. And it was still hot. The end. Let's think of things that we can do with the story that will be interesting and exciting. We can think about doing some science. Why not try making small boats out of different materials? Plastic, paper, cardboard, many different materials that you can find in your house. And try floating them in the bath. Which do you think will float and which do you think will sink? And why? Try and find out. How about dance and music? Get your parent or carer to play a piece of music by Orff called Carmen and choreograph your own wild rumpus and your own dance. Listen to Alita Adams, her song, Get There If You Can. Max travelled to where the wild things are by a boat. Can you think of other ways that you can travel? Let's think about art. Max's room turned into a forest. Why not draw or paint a different habitat that Max's bedroom could have changed into, or even your own bedroom? What could your walls and floors and ceilings turn into apart from a forest? Let's think of literacy. There are lots of big words in this book. Mischief, tumbled, almost, terrible, frightened, rumpus, lonely and roared. If you have a dictionary or an online dictionary or thesaurus, or even with your parent and carer, can you think of other words that mean the same? Maybe you could have a go at writing them down. For parents looking at the book, there are lots of different symbols in the story. The crown is the ultimate symbol worn by kings and queens, and it's recognised as a symbol of authority. Max's growing maturity, travelling across a year, means that he is now being much more mature and showing more signs of maturity. And therefore, the crown symbolises that growing maturity. The boat says, private boat, just for Max only. Max is travelling outside the constricting environment and the laws laid down by his parents. Over a year, he is maturing. And as he travels back through time, not distance, this also means that you can see his journey into maturity. And that's what the symbolism of the boat is. The wild things are his emotions. And when he puts on the wolf suit, he takes on those emotions and feels the emotions of those wild things that he can't control. Initially, he is afraid of the wild things, but eventually he learns to overcome them by practicing the magic trick of staring them down. And that's Max overcoming the wild things, overcoming his fears that all children have about life and about growing up and about separation. He's facing his fears by staring them down. And that is really important for Max wearing his wolf suit. I hope you've enjoyed the story, and I hope I've given you some good ideas that you can use with your own children. Thank you. Enjoy The Wild Things by Maurice Sendak.